Monday, everybody. I hope you're having a great day. We got some things to talk about. We got we have two housing markets, because when you talk to some real estate agents, they're like, oh, everything's great. And then we got other side, they're like, oh no, it's a bloodbath. So we're going to be talking about that. But I mean, the split isn't even just in each state. It's in each housing market. So we're going to be talking about what's happening in Florida, because you could talk to some real estate agents in Florida, completely different story than the ones that you talk to in other parts of Florida. It's wild. And then what's the third story, Eddie? We had one more. What was the third story? We have one more story that we're going to talk about. Oh, I don't know what happened to Eddie. He's probably watching the golfing. I know there's a lot of you out there watching sports today. My brother posted a photograph on Facebook of, he's in Pittsburgh right now, and like this whole area that everybody's sitting out watching one screen TV. They blocked off the street, and they're all sitting out from the bars in the street to watch this one television of a football game. Forgive me, I don't know anything about sports. I know nothing about sports except for when they talk about golf. You know, they have the golf thing, and there's always that one dude that screams, "Get it in the hole!" Who are you? If you're that dude, stop it, zip it, stop doing that. Stop doing that. Every time he's got golf on, there's some dude in the background that's screaming that. Like, you don't think these guys know that that's their job? Whatever. Whatever. Anyways.
And it was the signs that the market's coming back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was the third one. So like they had an article that came out that said there's signs that the housing market's coming back. But for some markets, it's like it never went away. So it's so confusing. The housing market has a personality disorder, I think. So we are live on Facebook. We are live on TikTok. We are live on YouTube. If you have any question, just type it in the chat, and either Eddie is going to read us the question, or it will be posted on the screen. So if you're on YouTube and Facebook, you'll see it on the screen. On TikTok, unfortunately, I don't have the way to do that, so Eddie will read the question that you have. So you're more than welcome to post your question at any time, and Eddie will put it out there for the world to see. He is the producer in the background and husband extraordinaire. So,
and by the way, they were watching the Steelers game this morning in Ireland.
Oh, the Steelers game in Ireland. Well, it was huge in Pittsburgh. Like they blocked off this whole area. No wonder why it was Irish pubs that they blocked off. Now I know. I learned something new today. So anyways, I'm glad to see everybody here. If you don't mind, go ahead and tell us where you're coming in from. Everybody wants to see where you're at, so that way we understand what your housing market is doing. Rhonda, hello. Shalom. Good to see you. That was funny. Shalom, y'all. That was funny. Promises. Hello, Nellie. How are you? It's good to see you. King in the City of the First. Yep. Afternoon, everyone. Afternoon. Lawnmower is here. Greetings from the Pats fan. Go Pats. Golfing is still a thing. Yeah, it is a thing. Yep. Go Yankees. Go Mariners. Hello, David. G-Jack says, hi, Yankees play now in New York. Hello from New York City, Eddie and Kristina. Do you think the housing will ever be normal again? Oh, well, I think we have a 10-year span before we ever see a normal market. Right before the pandemic, I would have said it was normal. I wouldn't have said it was a buyer's market or a seller's market. It was an even amount. And we had, in some areas, we had about a 6-month supply of houses, which people weren't screaming, like, oh, the housing market is crashing. They were just saying is a 6-month supply. Now, if you see a 3-month supply, everybody's like, oh, the market is crashing. In comparison to what? No, it's not crashing. So, but it depends on the area that you live in. There's some areas around Austin, Texas that have dropped 20%. Some people say that's a crash. It's not a crash, in my opinion. 20% at the high is still not where it was before 2019. Even in 2019, housing was pretty elevated. You got to remember, it just depends on your perspective of what was high and what you consider a crash. So, Kenneth Anderson says, hello, Kenneth Anderson, give us a little hearts. Hello, everybody. Hi, Michael. It's good to see you. David says hi from Ohio. Nevada. Nellie's in Nevada. Cleveland, Ohio. Go Guardians. Catsy says hello from Northwest Georgia. From Baltimore. I've never visited Baltimore. I've always wanted to go. Villas, North Carolina. Hello, Kenneth. It's good to see you. Rockford, Illinois. Wow, we got them all over the place. Mostly in the north, though. Oh, here we go. Oh, Rhonda's in Colorado, but she's looking in Arkansas. Arkansas has some affordable housing out there. Camping Sasquatch says, afternoon from Utah. Side note, Papa Murphy's Pizza is having a BOGO, trying to save y'all some monies. Oh, you know what? We used to have Papa Murphy's. They were all over the place. And then they just all of a sudden one night just disappeared. I love me a Papa Murphy's. They don't exist anymore around here. We got a question from Mark. It says, it is so much nicer to live below your income. Less house, less car, less junk. Money at the end of the month and still instead of month at the end of the money. Yeah. Well, the thing is that there were a lot of people before the pandemic that were living way within their means and they had money to spare, right? But the cost of everything, inflation has risen so incredibly high. They're seeing a record number of retirees come out of retirement just to be able to afford the regular things like groceries, healthcare costs like medications, even like my homeowners insurance doubled over the last 5 years. Actually it's almost tripled now. And it's insanity, right? Nobody expected that much. You can't plan for that much. No one ever tells you that in a 5-month period, your homeowners insurance is going to go up, triple. And you can't expect that. And so, I get the sentiment about it. I truly do. But the cost of living today is not staying within what people are making today. So Southern New York, the Connecticut border. Oh, fantastic. Is the weather nice there? Jimmy says, hello. It's good to see you. Peter says, I'm golfing right now while listening to the show. Did someone scream at you, Peter? Has anybody screamed at you? Get it in the hole. Oh, I hate when they do that. San Dominguez, California. Hello, Vanessa. Beth R is from Arizona. It's hot, I bet. Oh, Eddie LSU folded. Yeah, Eddie said that yesterday. Hello from Michigan. I bet it's nice there. Hello from Orlando. I used to live outside Orlando in Castleberry, Florida. Yep. Travis says Middletown, California, Wyoming, Black Hills, where there's Black Hills gold. My mom used to get that stuff. Arizona. Hello, Mark. Hello from North California. Hello. All right, Charlton has a question. Here we go. Your map divided in the Northeast and Southern states, Dixie-Mason-Dixon line. Is that on purpose? Hi from Pennsylvania. Go Eagles. Okay. So that map actually came from an article that was on Business Insider. And that's how I was able to come up with the actual, the actual map. I ripped it off, honestly. I didn't purposely do that. Woo! We got a 50 super chat. Thank you. Hello, going against the grain. Thank you, Kristina, for all your real estate lives on Sunday. We learned so much. And Eddie, 411 about roofing. Yeah, Eddie's if you guys have a roofing question, that's on him. Hello from Boston. I used to live in Plymouth. Oh, thank you so much for that super chat. Thank you so much. Big Rig Christ follower says she's from Oklahoma. Good to see you. Spiffy, hello from Champaign, Urbana, Illinois. Never even been there. Never even heard of it. Is it a small town? Debbie says, I'm hoping to put mine on the market in October. That's tough. Hello from Washington State. Hello. Northeast Georgia. I used to live in Raven County, Georgia. I've lived in a lot of different places. If you haven't noticed, but I lived in Raven County, Georgia, and I also lived in Roswell, Georgia for a hot minute. Hello from Florida. Yes. MH08 says, I've been looking in Washington outside of Seattle, not as out of the whack as you might think. Yeah, it's kind of the cities, right? The cities have the most, the highest prices, but once you get out of the city, then it starts to get more reasonable. That's probably the case. Teddy Rose says, my dad is a realtor. Realtor, I better say it right before I get yelled at. He just had a deal that was ready to be signed for 1.4 million get canceled because the government contractor had his job cut due to Trump's hollowing out of the government. There is a subscriber to this channel that I spoke to probably about 5 months ago, and when it was like threatening that some of those jobs were going to be cut, and they were like, we're not taking the chance. I said, I wouldn't take the chance either. Go ahead and take your early retirement. And that's what they did before their jobs were cut, and their job would have been cut. I know a lot of people wanted to hold on to those jobs, but they were in a position where she could take that early retirement. I'm so sorry to hear about your dad. Hello from North Carolina. All right. Any suggestions on how to find my forever home city in Florida? Still working in my 50s. What area of Florida? Well, you know what? We have an article to talk about that in just a bit, talking about some of the places that home prices have dropped significantly. So maybe one of these places might work out for you. I lived in Lake County, Florida for a hot minute, and it's not that expensive. Like Mount Dora, it gets a little expensive, but Leesburg, Tavares, all that area, you can find some good, reasonable priced homes out in that area. So, Eddie, let's go ahead and pull up that first article. Brienne, I saw that. Brienne says, I'm down the road in Baton Rouge. Yep, down the road. Yep. It's a tale of two housing markets. America is in two housing markets today. So let's go ahead and scroll down. The American housing market has officially split into two distinct worlds. While some regions see homes flying off the market with multiple offers, others watching inventory pile up as prices finally start to cool. Understanding which market you're in has never been more critical for real estate investors. We're all investors. If you're going to buy a home, it's an investment. All right. They know this. Go ahead. Redtastic features spotlight portfolios. Do this. The Great Divide regional dynamics. Scroll to that. Go under. Yeah, there we go. Oh, stop. Scroll back. Stop. Okay, right there. Markets in the South and West are experiencing the most dramatic shifts. Inventory has surged. Homes are staying on the market 20% longer than the pre-pandemic levels. And for the first time in years, buyers have negotiating power. The key indicators: massive inventory growth, price reductions becoming common, days on the market increasingly significant, buyers' incentives returning. And I'm going to tell you this, like here in the South, like builders are giving incentives. They are they'll buy down your interest rates. They are giving closing costs. They're upgrading your house. They're doing everything but dropping the price. They haven't got that far yet, but they will give you all these other incentives to get you into the home. They're not willing to cut the price because they don't want the comps to start dropping and lower the value for the other people that already live in the neighborhood. You know how that works. But I will say this, even like in our area, we are seeing more houses sit on the market longer, but the ones that are sitting on the market are not in good condition, like not in the best prime condition. The ones that fly off the market are the ones that are in pristine condition. They have they're clean. They've been recently painted. They're move-in ready. There's not anything for the home buyers to do unless they want to. They're move-in ready. So if you're in the South, I'm just going to tell you right now, if you're starting to see inventory pile up, make sure your house is in the best condition ever. And I know somebody that was saying on the stream that they're putting their house up in October. Make sure everything's done. Like there's no light bulbs out in any of the fans. All the light bulbs are the same color, because nothing's worse to the buyer is if you have those like bright white light bulbs in one room and then those like natural light bulbs in another. It gives a weird vibe to them. You don't want to give them any reason to not like your house. And I know this sucks. You know, you have to do all these little tiny things to make everything perfect. But if you're in that position right now, that's what you need to do in order to get your house sold and sold quickly, and for top dollar, by the way. Northern markets remain tight with limited inventory and continue price growth. These regions seemed more stable conditions with less dramatic swings in either direction. The key indicators are the inventory remains constrained, prices are still climbing, competitor buyer market, and fewer days on the market. Like, go ahead and scroll down, Eddie. Sometimes I think it gets stuck. Is it stuck? Okay. All right. Mortgage rate reality check. The dream of a 3% mortgage is officially over. Current rates hover around 6.7%. Experts predict they stay in the 6 to 7s range in 2025. And guys, you know what my I think it's going to be over 7. I've said this, but I've been wrong. I've been wrong, but that's where my prediction has been. The Federal Reserve has signaled patience with inflation, meaning no major rate drops are expected until 2025 at the earliest. And just know that even if the Fed cuts the rate, that does not mean it is reflective to mortgage rates. It can affect mortgage rates, but that doesn't mean they go in tandem. It follows a different set of rules. Just know that. Investor insights. Stop waiting for rates to fall. 4 and 5 home buyers are still waiting for lower rates, but prices continue rising while they wait. Smart investors are adapting with creative financing, rate buy downs, and focusing on cash flow rather than perfect interest rates. The lock-in effect continues in dominating the market. If you guys don't know what the lock-in effect, that's where somebody has like a 3% interest rate. They would love to move, but they don't want to let go of that interest rate because it wouldn't behoove them. But some people have no choice but to sell. So they're having to give them up. But most people that are like, I know this house is too small for our family. We're just going to stay in it. And I heard one guy say, I'm going to find a way I can get buried in the backyard because I'm never leaving this house. So the locked-in effect continues to dominate the market with 82% of existing mortgage holders locked into rates below 6% and 25% below 3%. Homeowners are reluctant to sell and give up their low rates. This creates an artificial supply constraint that keeps inventory tight in many markets, and that's true here in the South. Like some home sellers have kept their houses entirely too high, right? And they're like, well, if I'm going to go into a more expensive home where I'm paying a higher interest rate, I need to make this money to let go of my 3.5% interest rate on my current mortgage. And if I'm not willing to get that, I'll just test the market and I'll take it off later. So we've seen in some areas around here, record amounts of delistings, and they're not putting them back on the market. So Eddie, go ahead and scroll down. I don't know if I want to cover any more of this, but I do want to show the inventory surge. After years of severe shortages, housing inventory is finally growing. Unsold homes are up 29% year over year, making the most significant inventory increase since the pandemic began. But this growth is far from uniform across the country. New construction inventory has reached levels not seen since 2007, 2008, with builders offering unprecedented incentives. 37% of builders are cutting the prices by an average of 5%. We have not seen that here in our area. They're keeping the prices where they're at. 62% of offering sale incentives, including rate buy downs, closing cost assistance, upgrade allowances, and flexible terms becoming standard. However, this growth comes with a caveat. It's driven more by sluggish sales than a flood of new listings. Homes are simply taking longer to sell rather than a massive number of sellers entering the market. So, I mean, I would love to know if you know what is happening in your market. Do you see an increase of a bunch of listings hitting your market? Or are you seeing just, a lot of people like just to say forget it and pulling them off? I want to know. FYI, DeSantis is looking to get rid of property taxes in Florida. Yeah, I've heard that. I think they tried to do that in other states as well. I know that Texas, we talked about this several live streams ago back, right? The thing is that in order for like a state like Texas to actually get rid of property taxes, they would have to increase their sales tax. And that sales tax, they figured out, I think it was going to be like 23% or something like that in order to offset what property taxes would bring in. You can't have one without the other. I mean, there's got to be a way to be able to pay for roads to be fixed, to help fund the schools. You can't have one with the other. I hate paying my property taxes. I can't stand it. But I know that, those are the ways that our roads are supposed to get fixed. But if anybody knows anything about Louisiana roads, I don't think my property tax money is going to fixing or repairing any roads. I think we have the worst in the United States. That's why we pay such high car insurance here. It's because everybody's window's got a nick, crack, something in it because all the rocks are flying off. Do you know that we don't even have this is off the subject, but here in Louisiana, like if you have like a tire that blows out or whatever, you go to the shoulder, right? You go to the shoulder. Where I live in Louisiana, there is no shoulder. There's no shoulder. You just have to stop in the middle of the road or hope that you can make it to a parking lot so you can get your car fixed. That was the weirdest thing. And I was like, oh, is this like a country thing? No, it has nothing to do about being rural. In rural part of Louisiana, it has to do with the fact that's how they do roads here. And in order to because we rain so much, they just dig a hole. There no formal sewage system. Just dig a hole on the side, and the water will go into that hole. So
Savas over in TikTok, I apologize, says hello from Pennsylvania.
Oh, hello from Pennsylvania. Hello, friend. Our TikTok friends are saying hello. So good to see you over there on TikTok. So, yeah, Greenville, South Carolina here. It looks like we're dodging a bullet for a major storm here. I had no idea. I have not turned on the news. Was there like a hurricane, or was it like?
There's a hurricane out in the Atlantic.
Oh, you know what? Knock on wood. It's been a very quiet hurricane season. I couldn't be more thankful. Weak Bermuda high this summer is allowing storms to move northeast. Let's just make sure they just stay way northeast, like away from the states altogether. Howdy from Seattle. Hello, Muddy Sneakers. It's nice to see you. Yep. Slickman22 says, hello, everyone. First time on Kristina's podcast from the UK. Hello, friend. Hello.
I love that thumbnail.
Back to the 80s party. I'm having myself a PG Tips tea. You know what that is? Because I love it. Question. The Federal Reserve lowered by 0.25%. Yeah, 0.25% rate. Will mortgage loans get better? All right. So, Charlton, great question for everybody that's been asking that. The mortgage rates adjusted prior to the announcement from the Fed because they are following predictions of what the Fed is going to do. So if you remember, like a couple weeks before they cut the federal funds rate, all of a sudden you saw mortgage rates start coming down a little bit. That was because of the rumor mill. And once they cut the rate, mortgage rates didn't do much. Maybe they actually went up a little bit. It doesn't follow the same like. Just because they announce it doesn't mean that mortgage rates fall in the same category. They're futures. They're guessing, ahead of time. It's a future decision that they're making when they adjust mortgage rates with the 10-year and the 30-year treasury yield. That's the simplest way I can explain it. Sometimes you ever get to that thing where when you're doing something, you know how to do it, but you don't know how to explain it to somebody. Sometimes that's how I feel about mortgage rates. I know what it means, but I don't know how to explain it correctly. That's why next week we're having Kyle Seagraves, Win the House You Love, on this show. He is coming on the show because I have been threatening him every single week to come on here. He's like, I'll come on the 5th. And I'm like, okay. So, all right. We got a little minus sign that says, it honestly infuriates me that people who are lucky enough to have a home and go and sell it don't want to do anything to it and still get a premium price. So ridiculous. Well, that happened during the pandemic. In a lot of markets, it is not happening now. I've been fortunate in the fact that Eddie and I have sold a couple houses recently, and then I had a listing, but we did everything before we even put it on the market. We wouldn't even let them take pictures until everything was done. And that's how my listing was too. They were not going to put it on the market until it was absolutely perfect. And both of them went under contract very quickly. within a week for my listing, and I think 3 days before our houses that we sold just recently. So it all has to do with the condition of your house. But during the pandemic, I mean, you could have sold a shed with a leaky roof, and it was wild, and it was infuriating because you're right. It was how many people like went without doing inspections, which blew my mind. And so many people were like, I had clients that were cashing out their 401ks to buy a house. And I was like, I don't know if you should do that. That made me kind of sick to my stomach. I mean, they ended up winning in the end. Because the value went up so incredibly high, but people took a lot of risk during that pandemic race for homes. That's for sure. Our little minus sign says, I love upstate New York, Appalachia region, and homes have been still increasing. Many New York people are moving up, and landlords and corporations are taking advantage of them and forcing locals further north. Well, I don't know if you saw my last video or my last short that I had put out. The corporations, I think, are all working in tangent with all these private equity firms have one goal in mind. And if you look at everything that we do now, whether it's an alarm system, lawn care, anything we do with our home now is on a subscription basis. So like I have a whole house generator. I have to join their subscription basis to have it looked at and taken care of. So I have to pay a year in advance. So that way they come out and they do the scheduled maintenance and any kind of repairs on my whole house generator. The alarm system is the same thing. Everything is on a subscription basis. And I think their ultimate goal is to price out younger generations to the point where they cannot afford a home. So now they're in a subscription basis rental. So just think of it like this, which is kind of gross. You have the rental, right? And you're living in a neighborhood that looks just like a single family neighborhood. So now if you want the lawn service, you have to subscribe to the lawn service. Now, if you want everything will be a subscription, everything. And I think that's their goal is like, basically, if you want these certain things, you're going to have to subscribe to get it. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit, but I think that's what their plan is. MH08 said, if California were ever to repeal the Prop 13, you can bet existing owners would be grandfathered in. You think so? I don't know. I don't know much about California and how it runs. I've never lived there. I've only visited like 5 times.
I think it has to do with the taxes only increasing 2% each year until the house is sold, and then it gets reassessed. So
well,
meaning,
I know that.
Meaning during the pandemic, when it went up, skyrocketed, it would only go up 2%. And then if 3 years down there, so it go 2%, 2%, 2%, and then you decided to sell it, that's when it would be reassessed for that new price, even if it went up $1 million.
Right. I know that people that in California are like, people don't want, they don't want new construction because it actually costs more for them in taxes. They rather have an older house, and even with the incentives. So it's interesting. I know it's super expensive to build in California, and what developers have to go through just to even get a house built in California is crazy. Charlton has another question. It says the Federal Reserve lowered. Hey, Eddie, we already did this. Right. Remember we talked about the ABCDEF says, comment. I saw the news piece about new homes in Houston being built in areas with known flood issues. I'd be wary of new supply of housing. These builders are taking shortcuts. Okay, so one thing you can make yourself aware of if you are looking in a subdivision area, a brand new subdivision, you could always go on FEMA and see if they adjusted the flood maps to mitigate before they went ahead and built. And if that ends up being that it used to be in a flood zone and now it's been loamed out, that's what they call it, loamed out, I would I would strongly suggest just going ahead and getting flood insurance. Here in Louisiana, if you are anywhere from the middle of the state down and you own a piece of real estate, there's no reason why you shouldn't have a flood policy on your house. And that should include contents and the structure. A lot of people just got the structure. We had a big flood that hit here in 2016. They didn't realize, they thought their flood insurance would cover all of it. And all it covered was the structure themselves. Everything else that was inside the house, it does not cover. So make sure you have the correct kind of flood policy. I would say that anywhere in the city of Houston, I would have a flood policy. I've seen what has happened in Houston over the last 10 years, and there's been lots of areas that have flooded that have never flooded in their lifetime. And they are not building neighborhoods. And we've had it here happen outside of Baton Rouge. We've had lots of neighborhoods being built, and they're not doing the right thing in order for the water to not flow away from other neighborhoods. So we have like new construction. They build these houses super fast. And then the neighborhood that has never flooded in 50 years, because the new neighborhood went in, is now flooding because they haven't addressed or mitigated that ahead of time beforehand. I don't even know how it gets approved, how these are getting approved. Like, I know when we were growing up, Eddie and I were growing up in Florida, they had these retention ponds and they addressed the water issues before the houses were even started. I don't see that very often here in Louisiana. Not sure how they handle it in Houston, but get yourself a flood policy. It's really not that expensive either. The flood insurance is not pricey. Yep. Charlton says that when Kyle comes on, the viewership for my live stream on Sunday will go up on the ladies. Apparently everybody thinks that Kyle is a stunning man, a very attractive man. He's actually really smart and nice too. Besides being easy on the eyes, he's really, really a good guy. Kyle is a cutie. Patootie, says D-Jack. Yep. Vilia says, hi from Litchfield, Connecticut. What's the weather like there? Is it lovely? XT says, Kristina, what drew you to Louisiana? I'm going to be completely honest. What brought my husband and I here to Louisiana? Both of our parents lived in Florida, and any kind of like event, Christmas, Easter, it did not matter. It became a struggle and a battle between two very strong-willed, aggressive moms. I want to see the grandkids. No, I want to see the grandkids. No, you're supposed to stay Christmas here. And oh, what about Easter here? And it became a fight and a battle of wills. And then it was hot. I was kind of tired of it. I wanted something different. I was kind of sick of like the touristy Orlando area. I'm like, I want something with different, something with culture, something just not just out of the norm. And then Eddie got an opportunity to help rebuild after Katrina. And I said, let's do it. And he's like, we've never lived there before. I'm like, so who cares? And I'm always the kind of person that is like, I'm like, let's just pick up our lives and crash everything. You know, let's just change everything. I say that if you live in fear and never do what you wanted to do, you'll live with regret. So my whole thing is like, burn it all down so you can build it back up when it comes to my life. I do that. We've done that often. This will be, we're going to be doing that again really soon. And, you know, like everybody always tells us, oh, you're making the worst decision. This is so financially stupid of you. But every time that we've ever taken a chance, it's always worked out for us. So I'm willing to take a chance again. We will be moving again. I will be putting my house up on the market in probably March, I think. Yeah. Mona says new construction behind our house just sold for $900,000 for a 2,900 square foot, 0 yard. I thought for sure it would sit for months. Shocked it sold. Dallas suburbs. Dallas is a hot area. I have to tell you, there's some good food in Dallas too. I saw a huge coffee cup at the Dollar Tree. Did it make you think of me? The This is an actual coffee cup. If you want this coffee cup, you can always go into the description of this video. It's an Amazon link to this exact coffee cup. Love them. They're my favorite. There's no coffee in my coffee cup. It's tea, but yep. A Rolling Stone, a Rolling Stone says, hello from Maine. I was watching your video about how we are cutting checks for black market soon. Planning to buy my first house. There's so much overpriced junk on the market. Yeah, you know what? Somebody mentioned something about Houston and how the flooding problem is a problem. I want everybody to be very aware of some of the most affordable home builders in the United States. Those tract builders that have very appealing home prices that seem to be a lot less than the other new home builds in your area. I want you to make sure you get those checked and double inspected and have at least 3 inspections by the time they pour the slab, put up the frame, when they do the sheetrock, and once it's completed. I've seen a increase of problems with a lot of homes. One I saw where there's a huge mold issue in all the houses. And it shows up in sheetrock on a lot of these houses. The other thing I've seen is they're not being braced correctly. You know, like the bracing up in the attic. Some people are not getting home inspectors. I don't care if the house is new or not, or the county comes in and inspects the house. They're only inspecting for certain parts of that house. They're not doing a whole inspection. The other thing too is they're telling home inspectors they can't go on the roof. So home inspectors have gotten creative and they have now started using drones. So make sure you find a home inspector that has a drone if your builder will not allow them to walk on the roof. Get a guy that has a drone that can look, because they are missing shingles. There's nails sticking out of them. There are a lot of sloppy work out there. If it's affordable, there's a reason, because they're hiring affordable work to do the job, and they're not always doing the best job. So please, I mean, I gain nothing from telling you this. Get yourself a good home inspector to inspect a brand new constructed house. There are so many problems that you can have, even though you may have a builder's warranty. That doesn't mean poop if they don't come out and fix it. And, you know, you don't have to go through the whole lawsuits, and there's so many out there. Some of the biggest names, like I said, in affordable housing and building are the biggest problems, and they never come out unless you sue the pants off of them and you're out all this personal money to get them to do the job that they were supposed to do in the first place. Be very careful, very careful. FlukeMan22 says, would it be better for U.S. taxpayers if only the parents pay for their children's education instead of it being funded through property tax, but road maintenance is acceptable because it's everybody uses the road? Well, I don't have the answer for that. I'm not a politician, and that's not something I've ever really personally looked into. I just feel like in order to make a community successful, I think everybody should pitch in a little bit for the community. And I think, you know, if you want to go back to Whitney Houston, I believe our children are our future, and I'm willing to invest some of my taxpayer money in order for them to have an education. So when they grow up, they can buy their own houses and be a part of the community that I have been a member of. That's how I look at it. But I mean, everybody can look at it differently. It's just not something I know enough about to make enough of a impactful statement on. ABCDEF says, Philippian, that would not work for low income families, teenage parents, and so many other situations where parents cannot afford to pay for their children's education. That is correct. That is correct. I mean, I get what you're saying, but not a lot of people can afford to buy their children's education. Think about how many people that are in student loan debt as it is, you know? MH08 says everybody's benefits from an educated workforce. I concur. Yep. Lawnmower says the subscription for the whole house generator is more like an insurance. Yes. And I know lots of people in my neighborhood that do not do what I do as far as maintaining their generator like I do. I specifically wanted that subscription type model. So that way, when I go to sell this house, because I always knew at one point I'm going to sell this house, I could show a record of maintenance for the generator that, like this has been maintained. It's going to be in working condition. You just go ahead and maintain this generator for when you get the house. It's something like, I know that all areas won't need a whole house generator, but because I do live in South Louisiana, we have electricity that goes out quite often. Even though the hurricane hit in New Orleans, that doesn't mean it doesn't affect us here in the outskirts of Baton Rouge. They come through, they knock down, we have an aging system. The infrastructure isn't necessarily the best here. And at one time we lost our electricity for 14 days. And I said, never again. And even when we move, even my parents were saying, hey, when we move, are we going to get whole house generators again? I'm like, I'm never going to live without one. They were like, we feel the same. They feel the same. So, yeah. Anyways, MH08 says, in Colorado, we removed our property tax protection in 2022. We are literally paying the price. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. I would love to. Do you have an article on that you can send my way? You can send it to info@KristinaSmallhorn.com. If you have an article about that, I would love to read that. Eddie fell asleep, I bet. No, whenever Eddie's not when I'm like screaming at him, there's three things that are happening. Either someone has come to the door, a dog has had an accident, because we have a puppy and he's cleaning it up, or sometimes the computer gets stuck and he can't get it to move and open the window fast enough. Because I asked him, I'm like, what are you doing? You're watching television? What are you doing? He's like, no. And he went through the litany of things of that happens, why he doesn't get the article back up. Oh, we need to go back to the articles about Florida, by the way, Eddie. I want to show them the areas, because somebody asked at the beginning of the stream what areas of Florida would be a good affordable place to live. Flukeman 22 says, is it me, or is the U.S. plot size and property shrinking? Oh, it's not you. It's not you. So we have tons of land here in Louisiana. They have tons of land in Texas, but the property tax is related to the size of the lot, right? So if you shrink down the lot size, you're paying less in property tax in some areas. Sometimes it goes around the square footage. But yeah, they want to squeeze as many houses on those little postage stamp lots as they can. That's been going around in Florida for years. When we moved here, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to have a yard, because we had like 3 steps in the backyard. You walk out 3. We could even barely fit a little swing set for our kids. You could barely fit it on there. But yeah, they'll just make them smaller and smaller. From America's worst market to wealth haven, to Florida real estate splits shows signs of life. So yeah, there's a major split in some areas. Naples luxury real estate booms while Cape Coral struggles with an 8% of homeowners underwater. Yeah, Eddie's going to scroll this down. All right. In nearby Naples, brokers are selling up to $70 million in condos, and developers are rolling out $35 million in beachfront villas, drawing billionaires from New York to California. Local real estate lenders see a split reveals not a collapse, but a market rebalancing, in proof that Naples has cemented its place in the world's luxury stage. If it was a single word, I would say rebalancing. Does this feel like they're trying to sell us something? Premier Sotheby's International Realty CEO on Fox told Fox Digital, there are 4 months we've seen pending sales increase far beyond where they were last year. Though the market ebbs and flows throughout the year, we're confident that we're going to make an amazing season this year, not only in Naples, but across our platform. At the end of June, the Wall Street Journal named Cape Coral as the worst housing market in America. They reported 8% of homeowners were underwater, more than anywhere else in the country, and that home prices are declining for 12 of the 13 months. All right, keep scrolling. This posed a stark contrast to what the area witnessed during the 5 years, the early years of the pandemic, when the median home price increased from almost 75,000 to almost 75% to 419,000. We all saw the article and we were scratching our heads a bit, and we thought it was a bit sensationalized. It was certainly very incomplete as far as the total picture is concerned. What do you mean? Do you think that media exaggerates in order to sell an article? Nah, that never happens. From Naples, Cape Florida, and Fort Myers, what you found is the housing values increased approximately 75%. So what happened is, when there was so much demand pulled forward, then the combination of hurricanes and natural relapse as far as buyer demand. What happened was a pullback caused by the reduction of overall prices and the housing market. That was a lot of chicken soup of words. Hey, Jasmine, thank you for being a new member. I appreciate you. A lot of times in different markets, they can fluctuate up and down with the changes in the market, and you can experience things like that where they're go up and upside down because their home values had fluctuated a little bit more. In Naples, you're not seeing that up and down fluctuation in pricing. Okay. Naples is currently in the median price. Oh, Jasmine, you got some cheers there. Naples is currently has a median price that nearly doubled from 343,000 median of Cape Coral, according to Zillow data. For waterfront property, Naples Husky says buyers will pay anywhere from $5 million to $10 million. Yeah, but the median home being at 343,000, that's still less than the median across the United States, because it's over 400,000. So that's not bad. Coulter Urbans also is betting big on Naples market with its Olana residence currently under construction. The exclusive 12 unit boutique high rise has space for a private chef, a butler, a sommelier, even a dog walker, and expects to bring in a multiple 8-figure sales. I wonder if this is a build to rent, though. You know how I feel about build to rent. If you don't, I'm not a fan. I'll just let you know right now. Build to rent, I'm not a fan. The fact is that the distance between them is within an hour, and they're radically different terms for the buyer profile and audience in general. There are compared terms of general lifestyle and offered. They appeal to different audience and, quite frankly, different price points, overall levels of wealth. All right. Well, if you're thinking about buying, looks like Cape Coral's the next place. But all you have to do is go to some of the other areas in Florida where they hit the brakes. I have a friend that is a agent in Orlando. Those smaller homes are doing okay, but the higher the price, those are the ones that are sitting longer. So, yep. If you have any questions throughout the stream, you're more than welcome to ask your question. All you have to do is write the word question first, and Eddie will put it up on the screen. If you happen to be on TikTok, Eddie will actually read the question out loud because it will not be able to be on the screen. I'm sorry about that. Shane Potter says, my 2022 home out of builder warranty just needed $20,000 in repair for a faulty roof. Builder is reputable and the home passed multiple inspections. What else could I have done to avoid this? There are 3 components of the house that I think are absolutely essential. That's plumbing, electricity, and your roof. And you have a overall inspector that does an overall inspection of those things. I would also hire an inspector that is just a roofer. That is their whole career. That is what they do. I'm a roofer and that's all I do. You should hire him to go out there and say, hey, look, this is a brand new house. I want you to inspect the roof and tell me if there's anything wrong with it. Because nothing would make that guy happier than to point out other people's bad work. And that goes the same with a plumber, and that goes the same for an electrician. I can promise you this, but though it is very hard to find a plumber that will come out to do that inspection. If there's a sewer line, a private sewer septic system, some states require you to have that sewer inspection. But if it isn't required, I would definitely have a sewer inspection at the cost of the seller. If it's not a brand new house, at the cost of the seller. So they can have that inspected. So it's up to date, because those septic systems, if they're old, man, nobody wants that kind of crappy situation. Just saying. Little play on words right there, since we were talking about sewer. I killed me. I'm so funny. Fuzzy Booger says, oh, what a great name. Fuzzy Booger says, we demand stolen property tax money refunds now. I don't even know how you get them back. Does it keep the coffee hot? If I drank it fast enough, it would. Like in the morning, it stays hot, but like sitting here for an hour, it's kind of lukewarm now. Yeah. God bless us, everyone says, where I'm at, a lot of homes owners are opting to rent because they can't get enough money, get the money they expected to sell. Yeah, so that's common in a lot of areas, that people are choosing to rent out their house. If you're in this situation, though, hold on, I'm about to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. If you're in this situation and you're thinking about renting out your house, your mortgage may not allow you to rent out your house. So check with the people that hold your mortgage to find out if you can rent out your house. Some mortgages will not allow you, so just be careful. Ooh, where did that come from? I'm about to sneeze again. Thank you. Thank you, going against screen. I don't know where that came from. It was deep. All right, Eddie, we have one more article to throw up on the screen if you don't mind, and then we'll talk about our poll results. I had a poll that was on YouTube and on Facebook. So we'll talk about that poll. It was just asking if you're seeing more listings in your area. Too Evil says, question, have you ever think about inviting that CFI guy on the program? I can't believe what is exposing in the Arizona area. I've actually reached out to him. Okay, so you guys, 256 of you are going to be let in on a very inside secret. So several months ago, I was trying to buy myself an Amazon tiny home. The Amazon tiny homes are a scam. You cannot buy one on Amazon. They always try to take you off of Amazon and buy from them directly. Who knows if you ever get the house or not? It's a total scam. I reached out to that guy in Arizona, and he's just too busy. He said he's too busy to come out and inspect the houses, and he didn't want to do it with me. So I have a plumber that's going to go out there and inspect the house, because I have another company that is here in the United States that does do affordable tiny homes. They're very affordable. I'm going to inspect somebody that actually lives in one of these tiny homes in Texas on the 10th of October. I asked if I could go out there, and I get to take a look at the house, the quality of the house. In the future, I'm going to actually purchase one of these houses and have it all inspected by a plumber, a home inspector. I would have loved to have Cy, but he's just too busy. But I'm going to have some kind of home inspector come out there and tell us that if it meets inspections or not. I'm going to have Roger Wakefield. If you guys don't know him, he's the expert plumber. He's been on he's even been on Dr. Phil. He's been on Fox News. He's always around, but he's a friend of mine. He's going to come out here and do a whole inspection of that tiny home. That is, you can order. It's very affordable. And I'll let you know more about that. So yeah, really exciting stuff. Yeah. 3 signs the U.S. housing market is roaring back to life. Depends on where you're at. Because if you're like in New Jersey, you'd be like, when was it not roaring? All right. It looks like the housing market is heating up again after a years-long freeze. Affordability has improved with mortgage rates falling in the recent weeks. While existing home sales are stalled in August and new home sales abound. I have to tell you this. That second sentence, Eddie, zoom in on that sentence. Scroll back up. Affordability has improved while mortgage rates fall in recent weeks. There's two equations to affordability, and every single time they're missing the one key component. They always say this whenever mortgage rates go down, they always say affordability is back. But the median price home here in the United States is over $400,000. There are a good portion of millennials and Gen Z that can't afford the median price home because they don't make like those six figures, right? They're making a good income, but not enough to afford a $437,000 home. And it's supposedly the starter home in the area. So whenever I see a headline is affordability's back because interest rates have gone down a bit, I just want to throw up. I'm like, what are you talking about? Even if it was zero, so many people couldn't afford that because it's ridiculous. Sorry. I got a little heated. After years stalled activity in the market, it seems to have gained new momentum as lower borrowing costs have drawn prospective buyers from the sidelines. The average 30-year fixed rate mortgage cooled to a 6.26% in the last week, according to Freddie Mac, down 150 basis points from its peak in 2023. By the way, somebody asked me about the government shutdown and how that will affect mortgages. It affects it very little. Just to let you know. This is where we were in 2020 when it was just below 3%, and this is where we are today. So we're below the peak. We're way below the peak. So lower prices are helping, and the median home sales price eased to $410,000 in the second quarter, down 7% from its peak in 2022. That's still ridiculous. The median price. I remember back in my day, I remember when the median price home was $130,000. Affordability conditions have improved for 4 straight months, with lower mortgage rates and a stronger income growth boosting prospective buyers' purchase power. According to the Mortgage Banker Association wrote on Wednesday, it's still a burst in activity that might not be good for home buyers. More demand in the market means prices could remain elevated, and the housing experts have said they predict a rush of buyers hit the market once the rates decline further. Do you think the rates are going to go down further? I want to know. I don't know. I don't know if the rates are going to go down further. Here are the signs that the Americans are jumping on the opportunity to buy now. New sales surge. Oh, that's a big sharp line up there. I wish I could show this. Oh, hold on. Let me see if I can show it on the old Tiki Talkie. I'm gonna scroll you guys around. All right. Let's see. No, you can't see it. Oh, there you go. You see? It went all the way up. Look at that. New house sales surge way up. I think it's because the home builders are giving better incentives for the new home sales surge. Better incentives, guys. Better incentives. All right, let's scroll down, babe. All right, the sale of new homes jumped 20.5% for the month and 15.4% year over year in August. In monthly terms, the largest increase in new home sales in the U.S. is seen in 3 years, according to the census data released on Wednesday. Yeah, but wait a minute. Didn't we, at the beginning of this, we saw at the beginning of this, they were saying that home builders are sitting on a lot of inventory. So who's telling the truth? Man. Total new sales rose to a seasonally adjusted 800,000 for the month. That's the fastest pace of new homes that have gone off the market since January 2022, around the time of interest rates across the country economy began to rise. It's like, who's telling the truth? Mortgage demand has spiked. Borrowing activity has jumped in recent weeks. Mortgage applications rose 9.2% in the week ending at September 5th, which marked the strongest week for the mortgage demand since 2022. Mortgage applications jumped 29.7% in the following week before the pace of growth cooled to 0.6% in the week ending at September 19th. Yeah, that's the thing, though. I know that to be true. I know that more people are looking to get qualified for a mortgage. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to sign on the dotted line for something. They're just looking to get qualified. And then more people are refinancing. I can't imagine if you wanted to refinance, why you wouldn't refinance during the lowest mortgage interest rates in history. But I know there are lots of reasons that people don't refinance. Yeah, DJX says it's unaffordable. That is right.
Sival's asked 150 basis points equals to what in percentage?
Shit, I don't know. Oh, poop, I don't know.
1.5.
Thank you. Thank you. If you have money, this economy is strong. You're right, Rick. Rick Smith, you're right. All right, let's look at the poll, Eddie. Where are we at the poll?
That's 2 HR violations, by the way, today.
Oh. Did I cuss before?
Well, you called me babe, and then you cursed.
Oh. Well, you're my husband. I can call you babe. So, all right, what does our poll look like? What do our poll look like right now?
Number 3 is refinancing. Boom. In case anybody wanted to know.
Yeah. Oh, here, I got to do this. I got to add the puzzle piece. There we go. TikTok makes you like, if you're doing this for more than an hour, that makes you take this puzzle piece and move it over. So, yep. Ismael Cruz says, hi, Governor Hochul just announced that they're starting with the NYHCR Affordable Modular Housing Program in Syracuse. 3 bedrooms and a garage with a separate garage of 1,500 square feet. I know a lot of people, my kids' age, they would be totally fine with a house that's just a scotch over 1,000 square foot. You know, if they could get 2 to 3 bedrooms and they can own it themselves, they would be elated. They would be elated. They would go for it in a heartbeat. So anytime that anybody's willing to build more affordable housing in an area that needs it, and it's available for people to actually own, and it isn't a build to rent community, I think it's a positive for the community because they're personally invested in their own piece of real estate. So that makes them invested in their community to be nice. I think that if we turn into a renter society, what's the personal investment for them to make that community better? You know, they don't have any. I mean, that's how I look at it, but I could be wrong. It's roaring back to life. It's like meow around here. Yeah. It depends on where you're looking at, right? And I was like, roaring back. I mean, I talk to mortgage lenders all the time, and there was a lot of applications, but that doesn't mean it turns into actual physical sales. So I don't know. That was a fluff piece for mortgage lenders, I think. Who's up first? Question: what topics spark the biggest debates when you're hanging out with your investors and real estate colleagues? Oh, the biggest debates, they can't stand me because I always talk about home affordability and what needs to be done to make homes more affordable, because their mindset and aspect is always, how can I make the most money? And my aspect is, how can we make this more affordable so people can live in the area that you're wanting to sell? They would much rather put, we talked about those postage size lots. They would rather build a house that goes straight up in the air with a ton of square footage and make as much as they can per, price per square foot and go straight up. But I'm like saying, why don't you just make more townhomes? Why don't you make things more affordable? Well, that isn't as sexy as building a bunch of McMansions where you can make a lot of money. You know, they don't want to do that. They hate talking about home affordability. Some of the solutions that I've come up with, they're like, oh, that won't work. They immediately just shoot it down. No, that won't work. Oh, I've tried that before. I'm like, really? When did you try that? Like, well, I want to see your project. I want to see the details. Never comes to fruition. Nothing ever ends up in my inbox. So, yeah. Cisco says, hey, my comment's on the screen. Yes, it is. Hi. Your comment is on the screen. Oh, I like those glasses, Kristina. You know what's so funny is my glasses are dependent on what I find in the morning because I take them off. I have glasses all over the house. I take them off and then who knows where they end up. So Today's glasses were the ones I found first. Who's up first says, do most agents and small investors truly care about affordability crisis, or do they just see these times as an opportunity to make a profit? I would say it's a 50-50 split. If I'm going to be honest, 50% of them genuinely care about them. 50% genuinely want to know how they can make a buck from this crisis. Like, if it's not selling this way, how else can I make $1 and squeeze people? I would say it's a 50-50 split. Yep. And the ones that are on the other side, their lack of humanity is nauseating. I have to laugh at them. And I get so incredibly, like, my neck will get really red and hot because I hear them talk about people in a way that just makes me want to throw up, because it's all about the money. Greed is a terrible monster. Terrible. Because I'm always just trying to make things better for humanity. And there's just like there's two sides of a coin that they can't meet in the middle. So Nellie says, question, what are your thoughts on micro communities with like-minded people? If you can get anything approved, I think it's fine. You know, like they have over 55 communities. I saw a lady who took her retirement money, bought a big tract of land in Texas, and is selling the lots for people, single women, to have their own tiny homes. But I think you have to be I think you had to be over 50. And it wasn't income restricted. So you could bring your tiny home there and you pay lot rents, and everybody in the community takes care of one another. It was a really cool story because like one of the community members got really ill and she just didn't have enough money for her cancer medication. And everybody in that community got together and pooled their money so she was able to pay for her medication. You know, I think it's great. It depends on what you're looking for, but if you have a micro community idea and you have the money to do it. See what happens. Charlton says, question, did they come up with a new flavor of real estate Kool-Aid? Oh, I don't know. Everything's always innovative. We have innovative thinking. We're thinking outside the box. And then you're going to talk to them and they're like, it's always inside the box. It's always like how to sell these scripts. You know, I'm not joking when I tell you this. They have a whole program of scripts so you know how to talk to people, which blows my mind. Like, I don't know. I've talked to people forever. And if you're being honest, why do you need a specific script? And they're like, oh, these are to coerce people from your objections. I'm like, that's gross. That is gross. Just be honest. Like, there's a novel concept. You don't need any of these. Anyways, Lawnmower says, oddly, that's a common habit with people that only need readers. Yes. Yeah. Well, I had LASIK, I don't know, 16 years ago. And it worked fine. It wasn't until like about 2 years ago that I was like, I couldn't see close up anymore. And I kept thinking it was my computer screens. I had Eddie come out here and be like, I'm like, these screens are not crisp. I don't know what's going on. I keep trying to make them crisp and they're just getting blurrier and blurrier. And then my brother handed me some of his readers when we were at a restaurant. And I was like, oh, I just can't see close up. Whoopsie. Hey, Lucian. Hello. Question. Should I be suspicious about my Franklin modular multi-sectional home that's just under 200,000? What do you mean suspicious? What are you worried about, the build quality? Did you get an inspection done? Does it have a warranty on it? Have you watched my videos about modular homes? And are you sure that it's a true modular? Is it financed as a modular? When the tax records, when it's in the tax records, is it listed as a modular? Is your insurance say that it's a modular home? So there's a difference between manufactured and modular. The poll results are in. Thank you, Debbie Brady, future shaper, moderation nation leader. Poll results are in. It says, is your housing market dropping in price? 33% said yes. 30% said no. 24% of you said you're not sure. And 14% of you say it's not dropping or rising. So that means it's a flat market. and we were flat all through the spring and most of the summer. We were flat. Houses were selling. They weren't selling for a lot more. They weren't selling for a lot less either. So Noreen says, how can I contact you? Funny that you should ask. There's 2 ways you can contact me. If you need to email me, you can email me at info@KristinaSmallhorn.com. But you also can go to my website at KristinaSmallhorn.com, click on one of the pink buttons and fill out the form, and I will get back to you at my earliest convenience. If you have anything you want to share with me, or any kind of like whatever you need, just fill out the form. I'll get in talking to you. My people will get your people, and we'll all talk together. You know what I'm saying? If you want to share this as a podcast with your friends and family, you can do that as well. I take the audio from this live stream and we put it up on anywhere you listen to your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, any of those places. And just look for Real Estate for Everyone with Kristina Smallhorn. And this episode will be on tomorrow morning. That is Eddie's job. He puts that out first thing in the morning on Monday morning. And until then, I just want to say a very special thank you to our super chatter today. That was so kind of you. And to our new member that became a member of our little group, a little Kristina Smallhorn small home group here. So glad that we have a new member. Thank you, everybody, for spending your afternoon with us. And we hope to see you next week when we have Kyle Seagraves. Win the house you love. Bring your mortgage questions then. I'm not the mortgage girl. He is. He's not a girl, though. All right, everybody.
Special thank you to our moderators.
Yes, special thank you to our moderators. Yes, they've been with me forever, and they do it for free, which even makes it even nicer. So thank you so much for being the part of the moderation nation. All right, everybody.
And don't forget to leave a comment and like the podcast.
Yeah, don't forget. Yeah, Eddie always wants you to give you a 5-star review. Always wants to give us a 5-star review. All right, everybody. Love ya. Mean it. See you later. Be good. Stay